Thank you very much. First, I want to thank Michael for the introduction and for this. I didn't tell him earlier that I spent some time earlier driving speedboats around the island and played some soccer last time I was here. So it's a fun little experience in the platform. But it's good to be here with you. Um, so my presentation, like Michael said, is building and growing effective online learning programs. Now, before I get started, I just kind of want to say that this is built from my experience, from my work in the field, and from my research in this area, especially in the last 2 years when this stuff just kind of exploded. And there is no specific recipe for any of this to, not everybody's going to follow the same recipe. These are, suggestions, so definitely well researched and good tips for if you want to build those types of things. So let me really quick before I do anything, let me spin around here so I can see what I'm presenting. So like I said, so the agenda for today's meeting is first I'll introduce myself, a little bit of background on myself. I go through kind of a brief history of online learning in general, just kind of a top 30,000 foot view. Then I want to dive into some online learning statistics, as well as go into some online learning myths that we need to debunk if you want to build these types of programs. Some general tips on how to scale them up, and then I'll go into a little bit, like Michael said, I work for NJ Edge and Edge Learn, into the work that we're doing in this realm, and specifically one big project that we're doing with Rowan University that exemplifies, I think, a good way to approach the building and advancing of online programs. So my name is Joshua Gall. I am, like Michael said, I'm the executive director of Edge Learn, which is the educational technology instructional design bit line of business within NJ Edge. My background is in instructional design and technology, organizational management. I've done a lot of work in knowledge management, change management, that type of work, digital transformation, and building innovation. Before I came to Edge, I spent just 1 month short of 15 years within SUNY at Empire State College, where I was the director of educational and emerging technologies. And Empire State College is kind of one of those early adopters of online education and slowly changed as the world changed. And I got to be a part of that growth and that advancement there. And in the fall, just so you all know, in the fall, I will finally begin my doctoral work at Wilmington University in an a Doctor of Education program in organizational learning, leadership, and innovation. So I look forward to that research moving forward. So is my presentation moving forward up here? I want to make sure.
We have the agenda. Yep, there you go. Introduction and background.
Okay. So, history of e-learning. So, this is a broad scope. Obviously there's a lot of things that go into this, but just kind of a quick picture of it. So, 1953, B.F. Skinner develops programmed instruction and a teaching machine. This was the Skinner box. This was kind of the first belief that we could build systems, we could build computers, we could build technology that could teach living things. So this is the rat in the box and the light that pops on, and the trigger where the rat gets the food based on the color, the light that they see. So this belief was that well, we can obviously impart some knowledge on living things automatically rather than having to stand in front or walk people through human to human. In the 1960s, the first computer-based training program introduced at the University of Illinois. This program was the Plato programmed logic for automated teaching operations. Eventually expanded beyond the University of Illinois to other private sectors. The 1970s, the Apple II personal computer was released. The reason the 1977, the reason the Apple II was important wasn't so much that Apple came on the market, but that Steve Wozniak, one of the co-founders of Apple, expressly stated that one of the main intended applications of the personal computer was for education, was to start teaching people and to use in classrooms and to use to advance knowledge. Next, 1983, the year I was born, the Electronic University Network, EUN, was introduced, launched by Ron Gordon, a former president of Atari video gaming system. And it was originally built and established to help universities and colleges start utilizing online courses. Now, those of you that know the timeline of, obviously, of the internet, this predates the World Wide Web by 9 years, but it's post ARPANET and all that type of stuff. So you can see this brewing in the way that online learning could eventually grow. Next, we see Jones International University in 1999 becomes the first accredited fully web-based university. For profit, but it offered students online courses and diplomas in business and education until 2015, when it officially closed. Most students that were studying there at that time became students at Trinity University, another for-profit that came out of that 2000s boom of for-profits, University of Phoenix's, Capellas, and things like that. In addition, 1999 was also the first year that the term e-learning was used in professional context by Elliot Mazie during the Tech Learn conference at Disney World, a conference I've been to a couple of times. Elliot Mazie is actually based in Saratoga Springs, where I live. So I've been to his house. I've been to his learning center and things like that. He's a very interesting guy. I look up his work if you're interested. It's interesting stuff about pedagogy and andragogy and developing learning in higher education. And finally, in the 2000s, we see Boston University launches the world's first online program for doctoral studies in music education. They have since added a program in occupational therapy that's fully online, doctoral program. But if you think about from 1999, the first accredited web-based university, until 2021, how many schools now offer certificates, associates, bachelor's, master's degrees, and doctoral programs, including the one that I'm going to in the fall, that are fully online. People have harnessed the way you can use e-learning to build learning and to build engagement and to build a workforce for the future. So just jump into some online learning statistics. In fall of 2018, pre-COVID, we had 6.9 million students enrolled in just one or more online courses. 3.3 million of those students were exclusively online at the time. And now, post-COVID, or post-end of to post-COVID, projections show that this number will likely grow by around roughly 39% by the year 2025. So if we didn't see the growth in online learning before the pandemic, we certainly see it now as a result of it, because the population of students, which traditionally, when I first got into the workforce in the early 2000s, most students, we all expected, the students that are taking online courses are all the 18 to 22-year-olds, the young kids that are better with technology and so on and so forth. But at this stage, 41.6% of students who are taking online courses are over 30. The non-traditional student has become the traditional student. So, it's what online learning does, in addition to providing a kind of innovative way to deliver instruction, is it's broken down some demographics so that we can kind of reach more students in a lot of different regional and cultural demographics. Additionally, is the educator attitudes. 59% of professors see e-learning as being as effective as face-to-face, but that has only gone up. It was 49% before the pandemic, and now it's gone up 10% since the pandemic. But at the same time, 33% of that same population feels there is a lack of support for e-learning. So that what that means, that could mean, you know, technical support, that could mean instructional design support, that could mean administrative support. So, but that points to a lack of overall organizational support for e-learning, when it could be a cash cow, to be honest, or just a more innovative and more flexible way to deliver instruction. And just so we, you know, just a lot of these statistics came from the Department of Education, Inside Higher Ed, Online Schools Report, and e-learning industry magazine. So, myths of e-learning, and a lot of you have probably heard these before, but I want to kind of go into them because they're important to talk about. First is the classic, there's no interaction on online courses. So we've gotten to a point where we don't just have online learning anymore. We have traditional online learning and different types of online learning. I mean, 2019 to 20 gave birth to like what people called Zoom University, of students taking classes that were essentially synchronous, but just over a webcam instead. Now that offers some sort of interaction, but traditional LMSs, way back to the WebCT days, just basically had their interaction was a threaded discussion forum. But since the invention of the LMS and the full implementation of LMSs in higher education, we've seen a build out of chat rooms. We've seen a build out of synchronous communications, integrations with other tools that allow you to have synchronous communications and connect with your classmates, with your colleagues, and with your teachers in innovative ways that aren't just trying to replicate what happens in the classroom. Because I'm sure we've all been in classes face-to-face in college or in high school or in elementary school where there's no interaction there either, because the instructor is just a sage on the stage and doesn't invite communication. So it's all about the design of the courses, not necessarily, you know, what platform the courses are being delivered on. Cheating is more prevalent in online courses. Obviously, we've seen a lot of proctoring tools, ProctorU, you know, Examity, tools like that. They're trying to fight, you know, cheating in online courses. But studies have shown that cheating in online courses is no more prevalent than in face-to-face courses. And call me old-fashioned, but in my perspective, if a student decides they want to have somebody else take their test for them in an LMS, that's just going to make them less prepared for the workforce and less a good hire for future employers. So if you want to be not prepared, if you want to be ill prepared for the workforce, have somebody cheat for you. But the data has shown that online courses have no more cheating in them than regular face-to-face courses. Online courses are lower quality. People assume that because it's all online, a lot of it's asynchronous, but the truth is, I've taken plenty of face-to-face courses that are poor quality. I've taken plenty of online courses that are poor quality, and vice versa. It's all in how you design and deliver the course. Anybody who has been an instructional designer or an instructor for an online course knows that it takes just as much work, maybe more, to make online courses high quality when you're delivering them to students. As long as you put in the effort, the quality is going to be there. And a lot of the things we're going to go through in this presentation help to get to that level. Obviously, you have to be a tech whiz to succeed in an online course. Most LMSs nowadays, whether it's Blackboard, you know, Canvas, D2L, you know, Schoology, any of the other niche ones, have so much UI UX built into them now that if you're a student, you're going back to school and you've used Amazon or Netflix or eBay, you can pretty much succeed in an online course as long as there's a quality control approach to it. And I'll get into that a little bit as we move forward in the presentation. But there are ways that instructors and instructional designers and educational technologists can work together to make sure that nobody has to be a tech whiz to succeed in an online course. Finally, one that definitely can't be true anymore, employers don't value online degrees. While that may be true in some cases, there are still employers that don't value degrees that aren't from Ivy League schools. Can't control what the employers do, but in this day and age, most people that come out of college have taken at least one online course, and a good chunk of them have gotten their degrees online and still are every bit as skilled in the workforce as students who take brick and mortar institution degree programs. So, how do we scale up online programs? First of these is organizational buy-in. Early on in the pandemic, after the first 3 to 6 months, plenty of news reports came out about students wanting to sue the school for, this isn't what I paid for, this isn't what I signed up for. In a lot of cases, they were justified, but that was because their institutions weren't prepared to handle this type of change in delivery and change in instructional mode. So without the organizational buy-in from the top down, if your faculty, if your administration, if your provost, if your president doesn't see the value in online education or hybrid education or active learning, more digitally fluent instructional methods, then there's no way your students are going to. Just like if your students walk into a classroom and your instructor doesn't care about the topic they're teaching, it's just not going to happen. So the first step in ensuring successful online programming is to make sure that everybody in the organization that needs to make decisions and needs to push this degree program forward believes in what you're doing. Second is avoiding cannibalization. What do I mean by that? So many times schools that are starting to build online programs say, well, our bachelor in psychology's program is really well attended and students succeed there. We're good at that. Why don't we just build an online degree program in the bachelor of psychology? The issue you're going to run into there is that you're offering a program online that you've got success with in person. What's stopping those students that are at your brick and mortar that are your in-person students from just moving over to the online program? And then you've got to drop off in the face-to-face classes and every student moves over to the online programs. So rather than looking at what I do well, we need to look at the workforce. What are the things that are being demanded in the workforce? What are the jobs that need to be filled? Where are the industry partners we can work with to make sure that we have subject matter experts to design these courses? And what do I have in terms of staff and faculty that can make this program successful? Try to find creative ways other than just, well, we do this right, let's just keep doing it, but in a different way, because it doesn't work exactly that way. Financial and human resources, obviously. If you're going to start building online programs, you need the technology to support it, the networking, the security, the cybersecurity, and the people that make it happen. So many times we saw at the beginning of the pandemic, well, we'll just take this in-person class and slap all the documents online. That's not really online instruction. That's remote instruction that doesn't really have objectives and outcomes built into it that lend themselves to the online platform. So it's financial investment has to be made and human investment needs to be made, because this isn't going to succeed without the people behind it making it happen. Quality across the board. What I mean by that is, while I'm talking about online programs, the tools that you use in online programs, a lot of them can also be used in hybrid programs or in competency-based programs, or a lot of face-to-face programs need to be digitally enhanced to make them, we saw the high flex model. It's kind of a combination of in-person and distance education. There needs to be some sort of a way to make sure that students who take high flex and students who take asynchronous instruction and students who take the in-person classes without the high flex fold added to it, there needs to be a way to make sure that all those students succeed at the same level. All of them are having as close to the same experience as we can, and all of them walk out with the same knowledge and can meet the same objectives and outcomes across the board. And everybody hates to hear this, especially faculty a lot of times, standardization and process management. If you are going to build scalable online programs, you need to be McDonald's, not an artisan burger joint. You need to make sure that whatever courses you're building have at least standards set to them so that students don't walk in and say, where's the syllabus? There's a place to find the syllabus every single course they go into. I once had a discussion with a faculty member who I pitched this to, who said, well, that just ruins that removes my creativity and stifles my academic freedom. Why don't we just make all the textbooks the same? And I said to him, well, all the textbooks are the same because every textbook has a table of contents. Every textbook has an index. Every textbook is broken into chapters or units. The structure is the same, but making sure the structure is the same allows us to focus more on the content and the engagement we need to build with the students. So ensuring that there's a standard across all the courses in the easiest way you can, and ensuring that there's a quality control that manages the process to make sure that all of those courses fit in those standards that allow faculty to pay less attention to the design of the course and the structure of the course and more time teaching. That's where the money comes from. That's where courses can really succeed. And finally, like I just said, the quality assurance. Guess what? Lots of schools have done this before, and lots of models and lots of rubrics and lots of templates exist. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a reason why Quality Matters, is a good rubric for online instruction. There's a reason why the Oscar rubric in SUNY exists, because these are tried and true, researched and proven methodologies that demonstrate quality instruction and quality course design. You don't need to flip over the cart to redo it, okay? Follow those models. There's all these templates in place. There's no reason that you need to try to reinvent the wheel every time you design a course or design a program. So I want to talk about NJ Edge in general. NJ Edge, who I work for, is a nonprofit provider of technology solutions. It was originally built by the New Jersey, state government as a way to provide technology solutions to institutions in New Jersey. New Jersey doesn't have a system like a SUNY, or I know Pennsylvania, where I'm from, has a state system of schools. New Jersey doesn't have that. So NJ Edge serves as kind of a de facto type role for that, connecting institutions so that they change my screen. I don't want to do that. So that they can provide shared resources and can all be linked as much as they can be without being part of a formal system. EdgeDX is one wing of Edge. We're kind of reorganizing right now and putting a lot of different tools, a lot of different services into one. But part of EdgeDX is cloud computing, which provides cloud services for Edge members, cybersecurity, which provides cybersecurity tools and resources for Edge members, professional services, a lot of which I'll go into in my realm in Edge Learn, and digital learning solutions, which is Edge Learn, which I'm the executive director of. And I'll go into that, what we do with Edge Learn. So Edge Learn provides a number of things. Number one, partner solutions. So there's a lot of educational technology tools, Zoom, LMSs like Desire to Learn, ePortfolio and proctoring solutions that Edge has partnerships with. So it allows our member institutions to buy licenses for these tools at a discounted nonprofit rate. So it's an easy way, not easy, but it's a way that we can provide connections to tools that institutions can use to deliver educational technology and digital learning solutions for less the cost. Second, one of the things we do is online program readiness assessment. We can work with institutions and help them decide if you're ready to offer online programs or scale up online programs, and do kind of assessments for them as we do that. In addition to that, in this day and age with digital learning, the role of the Chief Digital Learning Officer is becoming a new and more, widely accepted role. And we can provide, virtual Chief Digital Learning Officer services for institutions, so they don't have to go out and hire a full-time person to serve that role. And the big thing that we do, the most oft used thing in EdgeLearn is ALETA, the Online Learning and Instructional Technology Acceleration Program, which offers instructional design services, educational technology services, course assessment and evaluation services, space design consulting and assessment, service management support for like IT service support, and faculty development resources. Few projects, just so I'll let you know, just a few of the things that we've done for member institutions in New Jersey so far. We've built faculty development institutes, training programs for faculty with certificates that they can earn, and training live and asynchronous trainings through Articulate, through LMS's delivery, which led to student orientations, which map to those faculty development training programs. Instructional design support, whether it's providing, just somebody to come in and make sure links work and make sure dates are correct, or doing full-on redesign and creation developments of courses. We've done that for a number of institutions. We provided Blackboard LMS support via the Freshdesk system for one institution, where essentially we just handled tickets for them as part of their service desk team. A space design and integrated technologies assessment, the SDIT. We've worked with AV installers and gone in and helped evaluate learning spaces and AV spaces that campuses have, to make sure that they meet standards, they meet pedagogical standards, ADA compliance, and can meet the changing world of in-person instruction nowadays with digital fluency and literacy. Course evaluation and quality assessment. I have a QM certification, and a few of our team does too. We offer, we can't QM certify the courses, but we offer an evaluation that kind of prepares courses for being able to earn that certification, and making recommendations for with faculty and staff to do that. Finally, project management across various areas of study, whether it's managing an instructional design program or managing a grant or something like that. We've done multiple of those initiatives with EdgeLearn. I want to talk specifically about Rowan University, which is a big partner we have in Glassboro, New Jersey. They offer 90 bachelor's degrees, 48 master's degrees, and 8 doctoral programs. Starting in the fall of 2020, we were brought in to provide instructional design support. That meant working on what we called rollover courses, which are courses that just needed kind of tweaking from term to term and needed fixing. We worked on a number of those courses. We worked on building and revising major courses with their faculty, and finally enhanced e-learning evaluation, which is like what Rowan calls, what a lot of other institutions call HighFlex, evaluating those courses to make sure that they meet the standards that Rowan has in place. We originally were supposed to start in the summer, but we didn't get started until October. The reason for that, and this is actually not a bad thing in my opinion, is Rowan was trying to lay the groundwork to make sure that our team could get in there and just hit the ground running. Rowan already has 8 to 10 instructional designers on staff, but they wanted to make sure that they were prepared to scale everything up. So they brought in 8 to 10 more from my team to work with them to do all of these things. But in order to do that, they set up Google Drives and processes, business processes that they made sure we could follow. They offered training for us. And when we started in the fall term, we ended up doing things so quickly. We moved faster than they expected us to. To go through the timeline here. In October, we kicked off. By January, which was the spring one term, we had put in 736 hours of work, completed 495 rollover sections, and 10 brand new or redeveloped courses. By spring 2, March, we had worked for over 1,300 hours and built 9 more new or redeveloped courses for the Rowan team. By May, we had worked for almost 1,900 hours, added 494 more rollover sections, and redesigned or developed 7 new courses. And currently working right now, as of a few days ago, we've almost worked 2,500 hours for Rowan. We've completed 473 more rollover sections. Adding those all up together, we've worked on almost 50. We've completed almost 1,500 rollover sections within a calendar year, as well as 26 additional new or redeveloped courses. So add all those up, we've got almost 50 new redeveloped courses that just the Edge team has worked on. Simultaneously, Rowan's team has done all of this work too. So they pretty much doubled their output in the course of a year by working with us. And the reason why it has worked, I'll toot my own horn and say that my team is excellent on how they do this work. But one of the reasons why this has worked so cleanly is because Rowan had a plan in place. Rowan had a strategy in place. Rowan had their models and their processes mapped out. We had 3 of my consultants in the middle of the project had to drop out because of other things that they had to do, or they had gotten other jobs or something like that. We managed to turn on a dime, reallocate that work, and never skipped a beat. And a lot of that was because of the business processes and the strategies and the standardizations that Rowan put in place to make sure that we could smoothly transition from one to the other. So in general, and Rowan is a great example of this, e-learning does not succeed without the strategy and buy-in behind making sure that your online learning programs are high quality, making sure that they're not just an afterthought, and making sure that there's a plan in place for growing them, and there's a plan in place for making sure that they get the support that they need. Standardization, making sure that, there's always going to be a place for, thinking outside the box for instructors, for sure. But if you're going to think outside the box and it's the way that you want to do things, it has to be inside a much larger box that we can not control, but we can scale up and we can manage. So that if you found a way to do things by thinking differently, if you found a way to do things that we can use in other areas of the college, we need to know that you're doing it so that we can apply it in other places. And that's part of standardization and process management. Finally, it's really about an investment in the technology. As much as technology should not drive instruction, but if you're teaching on 10-year-old technologies or practices that have to do with 10-year-old technologies, it's never going to succeed. Your students are way ahead of you. They all have smartphones now. They all have tools that can't run this outdated technology or need to be updated so that they can contribute in the way they need to. Investment in resources, both human, facilities, and any other resources you need to make sure that students do not get forgotten in this process. You can't build an entire online program with one person and one faculty member. You need to make sure that you have multiple people who have that skill set, or at least people that are skilled in that area and have some time to apply to this work, that can make those programs grow and understand the mission at hand. An investment in faculty and staff does not help to walk in and say, okay, but for an administration to walk in and say, okay, this is what you're doing, deal with it. you need the buy-in from faculty and staff, and you need them to be there from the beginning to help influence the way that the decisions are made. Because let's be honest, president isn't going to build these courses. Provost isn't going to build these courses. It's the faculty and staff and instructional designers and student support that are going to be the people that actually put this thing into motion. Finally, investment in your students. Students need to meet those outcomes. Students need to get their degrees. Students need to get their, students need to learn. Students need to be, good members of society and quality employees after they leave your college. And the only way to do that is to make sure they have the supports in place to do it, to make sure that they know where they need to go when they need help, and to make sure that they know that their instructors are confident in the way they're teaching, that the staff members that they talk to understand the questions they're asking, and to make sure that the cabinet level leadership of their institution believes that their experience, that the student experience should be at the front of the line, whether it's online, in person, or hybrid, and that all students, no matter what type of classes they take, no matter what type of programs they're completing, all students are viewed in the same light and are getting the same attention as they go through and complete their degree programs. So, I think I came in under time, and I talked fast. I apologize, but
that was great. Being mindful of time, I have a couple of questions that came to me direct, and I just want to get them through to get us to the top of the hour. What are the biggest barriers that you've experienced with partners you work with?
One of the biggest barriers is kind of in our line of in the work that we've done. A lot of times our member institutions will come to us and say, we need to build this online program, or we need to redesign all these courses. Problem is that mission is not communicated to the rest of the college. So we'll get like the online learning department and we'll redesign all these courses, and then they'll hand it off to a faculty member, and she's like, what is this? This isn't the course that I designed, because they weren't involved in the process from the start. So one of the biggest barriers is not just to reach out to us, to work with us to help you, advance your digital learning footprint, but to understand that we need to include every stakeholder, every person who's involved in the process in it, and make sure there's a transparency there from the institutional standpoint, and understand that my team is willing to work with anybody in any way or fashion that can help you permeate that mission across the college. That's really the biggest barrier, I'd say.
I have, how many staff members work for EdgeLearn?
For an EdgeLearn, I have, it's me as the executive director, and I have one full-time instructional design team. He's my instructional design lead. His name is Aaron Yorchik. And then we have, I believe now we're up to 11 consultants or part-time people who work for us on various projects. They all work for us on the Rowan project, but a few of them work for us on other projects with other member institutions. And we're looking to expand and hire some more full-time people over the next probably calendar year to grow this program even more.
That's wonderful. And again, our collaboration with SHI winning one of the RFPs that we're now able to collaborate even more for K-12 and higher ed. I have one more. How much focus do you think online learning will have when things get back to normal with in-person courses? That's a good one.
I think, in my opinion, the traditional face-to-face class, at least the one that I took, or at least some of the ones that I took, is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. There's not a course a student is going to take anymore that is a face-to-face course that doesn't have some online or digital component to it. Whether it's an active learning classroom with multiple screens in the room, or just a class where all the exams are given online. That's just the way it is as we move forward. It's a matter of where that investment needs to come from, because so many institutions have their classrooms built on outdated technologies. I mean, I think of, roll the TV into the room, or that overhead projector where there's the transparencies, the light shows on the projector screen up front. We're getting to a point where those types of things are gone, but we have a way. There are ways that you can use digital technology and networking and online instructional methods and technologies that you can teach classes that can have up to 120 students in them, but they're not lecture classes. They're not like this room, throwing 120 students into a room and then everybody's a number. There are ways that we can make them more engaging without having to invest in a space this big anymore. And that's where online learning, I think, is going to see a huge bump with things like telepresence and things like that, and active learning classrooms, and the digital learning labs, maker spaces, and things like that. That's where digital learning is really going to grow moving forward, which will only supplement fully online digital programs as we move forward.
Joshua, I want to thank you. I don't know if everybody can clap, but I know I can do a cheer for sure. How's that?
Yeah.
Appreciate your thought. And with Edge Learn, I've worked with Edge for a long time. You really raised the bar, and really looking forward to collaborating. And a part of that is you have in the expo hall. Please go visit Adam at the Edge booth. There's lots of information, and all of our partners and sponsors. And we have a few more sessions, and also I'm doing one on an old school that we knocked down and built a new learning center for our elementary school in the school district that I was a part of. So lots of good information coming forward. And I want to thank everyone for attending this session, and enjoy the rest of the show.